Your car guy here. Today we're working on a 1997 BMW M3. We're going to change the belts. I've got it jacked up and supported on a jack stand here on the passenger side to make it easier to get underneath to take the air conditioning belt off. This one does have two belts, a separate AC belt and a separate main drive belt. So first things first, now there's normally some covers underneath here. This one they're missing, and if you have them, just remove them. But this is your air conditioning belt tensioner, and to relieve the tension on it, you'll simply take a 13mm wrench, grab the top bolt on this, what looks like a shock absorber, and that's basically what it is, and you can just pull down, and you'll see that that is pulling the tensioner away from the belt. Then you can simply, while you're holding it down, slide the belt out and off. For the main drive belt, we're going to remove the air box, which is pretty simple. We've got some 10mm nuts here. We can just use a screwdriver and disconnect the air box right there, or you can disconnect the clamp and unplug this and disconnect it right there. But that'll give us some access right through here. Normally you'll have a vent here for the alternator cooling. If it's there, it just pops right off. We'll get this out of the way so that we have better access down into that belt. With the air box out of the way, we can now get down to the tensioner pulley, which is a little hard to see here. Okay, there's our tensioner pulley right in the center. You see our cracked belt runner. You can get in here with an Allen, grab onto this, and you're gonna relieve the tension on the belt. Once you have your belt loose, you'll need to fit it around in front of the engine fan in order to get it out. And you can do this by dropping part of it down and then rotating the fan and just rotating it around over every blade. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace my idler pulley. It's got some play in it that can cause some noise, and I'm also going to replace my tensioner. To get the idler pulley off, there's a dust cover here. You'll simply pry that off with a screwdriver, and then the bolt through the middle, which actually runs all the way through the alternator, you'll take that out. There is enough room to work that bolt between the radiator fan and the radiator to get it out. And then we'll take off the tensioner pulley with the 8mm Allen here in the center, and then we'll work on getting out the other mounting bolts. There will be two at the bottom right below it, and likely a third one up at the top right here in that center. So we'll work to that point. With the idler pulley out, I can get to the three bolts that I'm going to need to remove. That top one in the center, the one that goes right through the bottom of the shock absorber, and then there'll be one right next to it. Hard to see, but those three bolts. There we have our old tensioners out. We're going to put our new tensioner in. It's important, slide the bolt into the tensioner before you go to work it down in there so you have room to work with. We'll just simply put this in and tighten it up. With the tensioner mounted, we'll install our new tensioner pulley. Notice there's a dust cover. It's got a little hat. If you see, I've got the shallow side of the hat into the pulley there as a dust cover, and we'll simply install that, tighten it up. It is an 8mm Allen. Next, we'll install the new idler pulley. Notice on the back of this, there's this little peg. There is a corresponding hole or groove right there so that you mount that in one direction and one direction only. So make sure you have that peg in that groove when you put it in. Next, we'll fit our new belt by working it around the front of the engine fan so we can drop it down onto the pulleys. We'll start our belt routing from underneath by first going to the crank pulley. Now, the belt's going to come in between the water pump, which is straight above the crank pulley, and the crank pulley. And we're going to go around the tensioner. So if you see flat pulleys, they get the back side or smooth side of the belt. Groove pulleys, they get the front side. So we'll go around that and then back up and over our water pump. Once you have your belt mounted, take your time and look to make sure that it's fully in the grooves on every pulley. But again, let's review. It goes around the crankshaft and then back around the tensioner. From the tensioner, it goes back around the water pump, back under the idler, over the alternator, and over the power steering. Reinstall your air box and install your air conditioning belt. Please make sure again that your belts are riding inside of the grooves exactly like they should be. Next, we'll just start the vehicle up and we'll let it idle, and we'll watch to make sure all the belts are riding true. Now here we have it running. We've checked all the belts. Everything's riding like it should. This is your car guy. Please subscribe to the channel and like and share our videos.